These plants appear to be harmless, but ingesting them could ruin your day, or even put you in the hospital. Number 1 most dangerous plant I've eaten is Manchineel. In 2014, while exploring a Caribbean island with my friend Jimmy, we stumbled upon small green fruits lying on the beach under a tree. After a brief examination of the fruit, we both tasted it by scraping a tiny piece with our teeth. It was sweet and delicious, so we chewed and swallowed it. Soon after ingestion, we both felt an intense burning sensation in the throat that lasted about 5 minutes and then slowly subsided. We continued hiking and drank water to reduce the pain. About an hour later, Jimmy became really sick with nausea and vomiting. I had a very mild case of diarrhea, but otherwise felt fine. Jimmy was in bad shape though, and didn't feel he could continue on that day, so we spent the night on the beach. Weeks later, I researched the fruit we had eaten and learned that the Manchineel is the world's most dangerous tree. It's even listed in the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's most dangerous tree. Manchineel is a medium-sized tree with gray textured bark, glossy green leaves, and small fruits that resemble green apples. Several powerful toxins are found in all parts of the tree. It grows on tropical beaches and can be found from Florida to South America. I've encountered it in the Caribbean and Nicaragua. Manchineel gained notoriety among the Spanish explorers and conquistadors of the 15th and 16th centuries. Spanish explorer Juan Ponce de Leon reportedly was killed by Calusa natives in Florida when he was shot in the thigh by an arrow poisoned with the milky white sap of Manchineel. The Manchineel tree is so dangerous that just standing under it during a rain can cause skin blistering. A saying adopted by the Spanish conquistadors was, "He who sleeps under a Manchineel sleeps forever." Its Spanish name is Manzanilla de la Muerte, which means little apple of death. Simply brushing one's skin against a Manchineel branch is said to be enough to cause skin blistering. Burning Manchineel branches is also a bad idea because the smoke can burn the respiratory system and even cause blindness. Eating even a tiny piece of the fruit was definitely a bad idea for me and Jimmy. Fortunately, we didn't eat more. I've read that most people who come in contact with Manchineel end up in the hospital. Since then, I've handled the fruit without any problem, but I'm careful not to touch the white milky sap. Extreme caution should be taken when in an area where Manchineel may exist. The second most dangerous plant I tried eating was Xanthosoma, which is commonly called elephant ear because of its large leaves. It is closely related to Alocasia and Colocasia. In the US, a similar species sold in markets is called taro root. In some Spanish-speaking countries, it may be called malanga, ñame, quisque, or cocoyam. In 2017, while on an expedition in Chiapas, Mexico with my friend David, I decided to try eating a piece of wild Xanthosoma that was growing along the river. I cut a small piece at the bottom of the stem and I touched it to my lips and tongue. I instantly experienced a painful reaction that felt like tiny microscopic shards of glass spreading throughout my mouth. I spit out my saliva and rinsed my mouth with fresh water, but the discomfort persisted and I was unable to eat the rest of that day. This family of plants contains high levels of oxalates and toxic hydrogen cyanides. The leaves and root of many species are eaten throughout the world, but they must be cooked first. In one study that I read about the toxicity of Xanthosoma sigidifolium, if I pronounced that right, they discovered that cooking the root for 80 minutes reduced the soluble oxalate content by 75% and completely neutralized the hydrogen cyanide. Fermentation also considerably reduces the oxalate levels in plants. In the human body, oxalates bind with calcium and other minerals to form kidney stones. During my research, I also read about a bacterium that breaks down oxalates in the digestive system. It's called Oxalobacter formigenes, and it occurs in many vertebrates, including humans, but sadly it is uncommon in most people in the United States because of a poor diet that lacks real natural foods. Oxalobacter formigenes helps protect people from kidney stones. The moral of the Xanthosoma story is to thoroughly cook the leaves and root before eating. Fermenting it as well will make it even more beneficial to the body. Number 3 of the most dangerous plants I've ever eaten is skunk cabbage. In 2019, while exploring a forest in Baranof Island, Alaska, I found large-leafed plants growing from the soggy forest floor. Leucicatin americanus, commonly called western skunk cabbage, grows in marshy areas of the Pacific Northwest. It's called skunk cabbage because of the stinky flowers that emerge in the spring. I had read that skunk cabbage was edible when cooked, so I collected some leaves, chopped them up, and boiled them in water. Then I started to eat them. After I had eaten some, I started to notice the familiar and unpleasant sensation of sharp crystals in my mouth, just like I experienced with Xanthosoma. Cooking it did not break down all the oxalates, and for the following 3 days I felt discomfort in my mouth and throat. I was worried too that because I had swallowed the leaves I may develop kidney stones. Fortunately, my kidneys have remained clear since then. After this incident, I did more research and I found that the natives would eat skunk cabbage in times of famine. However, it must be cooked for a long time in several changes of water to sufficiently reduce the oxalate content. Oxalates are common in many plants. Even spinach and blueberries contain smaller amounts of oxalates. But plants with high levels of oxalates must be cooked thoroughly and often with several changes of water to make them safe for human consumption. And number 4 of the most dangerous plants I've ever eaten is prickly pear. What? Prickly pear? How can prickly pear fruit be dangerous to eat? I've safely eaten prickly pears for decades, but in 2023 I filled my burden basket with a few hundred prickly pear fruits with the intention of drying them in the sun. Prickly pears have tiny thorns called glochids that easily get embedded in the skin, but that wasn't the problem. So this is what happened. While preparing the prickly pears to dry in the sun, I found that a lot of them weren't fully ripe. I didn't want to dry the unripe ones because they wouldn't have full flavor, and I didn't want to waste them either, so I just ate them. After a few hours, I ended up eating about 50 prickly pears. No problem, I thought. I've eaten 20 in a day before without any problem. Well, the next morning, I woke up and had a bowel movement. The first one came out fine, although it contained a lot of seeds. However, the second one would not come out. I pushed for several minutes, but nothing expelled. I continued with my daily work, but throughout the day I kept feeling the need to have a bowel movement, but every time I tried, nothing would come out. As the day continued, the experience became more and more painful. I started having involuntary contractions that would last about 15 seconds as my body tried to push out the obstruction. I discovered that my lower bowels were packed with the seeds of those 50 prickly pears I ate the day before. I could hardly walk. Every movement was slow and painful. I continued to work as much as I could, and I tried to loosen my stool by drinking liquids and putting my body in different positions. There's so much more to this story, but the short version is that I survived the night, and the next day, my friend Zico came to rescue me and help me get out. Another day later, I took laxatives and even did an enema, but there were no positive results. At the end of the third day, the pain was excruciating, and I agreed to go to the hospital for treatment. The doctor gave me laxatives and another enema, but it still didn't work. Then I was given a stronger laxative called polyethylene glycol 3350. I drank it over the course of several hours and just tried to relax my body as much as possible. Eventually, I gained control over the involuntary contractions and learned to relax the rectum. This allowed a little bit of seeds, just a little bit, to flow out of the rectum whenever I experienced the contractions. I did this during the whole following day until I finally expelled the majority of the seeds and no longer felt constipated. The doctor said that the CT scans showed that at least 10 inches of my lower intestine was packed with seeds. This is a good representation of what it probably looked like. You see, when you eat prickly pears, the pulp and juice are easily digested, but the hard seeds are like tiny stones that can't be digested. The fact that I ate about 50 prickly pears with no other food caused the mass of seeds to be compacted in my intestines. Fecal compaction can become life-threatening. The moral of the story is to always be aware of what you are eating and to eat in moderation. 5 prickly pears won't do you any harm, especially if they are eaten with other foods. Moderation with food can mean the difference between life and death. For instance, water is crucial for survival, but water intoxication is a real thing and can lead to death. It is my hope that sharing my mistakes will help you and others avoid making similar mistakes. A good rule to follow is to never eat something that you can't positively identify or that you don't know much about. Applying the universal edibility test to wild plants is a much safer way to test for edibility. But never, never blatantly eat something that you don't know.